Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. And today we are talking Kanye's new guest feature on Smack DVD, a St. John song, and it's the second song that they've collaborated on. And weirdly enough, the song's not on the album. You may remember Pray For Me, which just dropped last week with While the World Was Burning, and Kanye has a verse on this. Smack DVD comes out a week later, but doesn't make like the actual album, which is a little strange to me and kind of sad because I like the album. I listened to it. Switching Sides, I think, and Pray For Me were my two favorites, but Smack DVD definitely would have been my favorite song on the album and is honestly one of my favorite songs of the year. But before we get into looking at the lyrics and talking about the song, a little bit about the title. It comes from a old magazine or DVD magazine called Smack DVD, right? That was just about like hip hop and it would have hip hop battles on it and interviews with rappers. And you can see here all these different older editions of Smack DVD, right? Like very, the covers are just like pretty funny. But Kanye was back in Smack DVD 13 on the cover, which was from 2007. And we actually have video of that we're going to talk about. But a lot of Smack DVD, as you can see here, talks about like rap battles, beefs, and artist interviews. Yeah, so the battles and the beefs are a big part of it, which is kind of fitting because when you look at the video, you see that it's like in a strip club. And St. John's there on the right, the strippers are doing their thing, and you're like, how's Kanye going to fit into this music video, or what is he going to do during Kanye's verse? Just have the same image going on? And if you've seen the video, then you know he just goes to text over the video, which is really funny. Like, I don't know, it's a kind of postmodern, like self-referential and humorous to me. Kanye did not approve this video, and he keeps going, right? Like, this might be his first time watching it right now. Kanye, if you're watching, please raise your right hands, which pretty funny. And then it gets into your part is almost over. It has a great verse. And then can I get some Yeezys in a colorway for not a cult? Which surprised me when I saw that. I was just like, oh man, using the C word, you know? As people, ever since Sunday service started, people have been talking about like, oh, Sunday service, Kanye's cults, which is very dramatic. This is kind of in the spirit of Smack DVD, right? Like it's a little bit of smack talk, a little bit in like something you'd say during a rap battle, a little bit of like tongue-in-cheek, and these two hung out like a decent amount. They were in the studio for the album. They went to Jamaica together and recorded other music. I mean, they're not like old friends, but there's definitely, at least it seems, some camaraderie here. And then what we get, not a cult, this part is censored for the Lord. And then we go back to the video and that's it. So just like a little bit of like humorous text that feels very Monty Python and the Holy Grail opening credits, if you've ever seen that movie. But had me cracking up. I think looking at the lyrics themselves, it's much more of a traditional rap verse than what I think we got. Like Kanye on Feel Away with 2 Chainz was very much in his like rap bag. But this one has like an energy from Kanye that I haven't heard from a lot of his guest features lately. Like the Ego Death one was great. Like the 2 Chainz one was great. Ego Death is from 2018 though. What Pray For Me was a little bit more like floating, like in a vibe Kanye. This one's just like aggressive and loud, but still like, you know, appropriately Christian for this like new era of Kanye. And you can see that he's even starting with like, boy, Smack DVD, I gotta pull up with the creed. And creed right here, a system of Christian or other religious belief, a faith. So it's like he's doing Smack DVD, but he's like doing it with his Christian values and beliefs, which makes sense then when he says, you know, you effing up later in the song. Like we're back to effing. You know, it's funny, back in 2008 when they were making 808s and Heartbreak, Kanye originally had in the song Heartless, why you gotta be so fucking evil. And he didn't want to swear on the album in the song, and he was sitting there going like, how do I, like, what word can we switch out for fucking? And it was Mr. Hudson that suggested Dr. Evil, just because of Austin Powers being popular and still in the zeitgeist at the time. So that's how we ended up like, why do you have to be so Dr. Evil, right? Which kind of funny. But here he just went to like, you know, you effing up. Like no like clever Like Mr. Hudson's not around to be like, Dr. Evil. It's just like, nah, you effing up. So he's doing things like with his Christian creed, got to pull up on a creek, got to find out where it be, which, okay, this is the weight Kanye what, because I can't understand what, why, how we arrive at this. I mean, I guess you're trying to find something that rides with creed, right? And that fits in the flow of things. So like creek is the closest thing, but like, what does that have to do with anything? It might be a typo on Genius's part. Like it could be creep. It could be something else. I was listening closely and couldn't make out a different word, but I also wasn't sure it was creek. So I think it's somebody just assuming creek and wrote it. It could be something different, but it also doesn't sound like that different from creek, which is concerning. So if that is the line, it's definitely one of the weirdest Kanye bars I've heard in a minute. But got to pull up on the creek, got to find out where it be. Like he's trying to find out where the creek is. That's all that he wants, which I'm sure you can make some connections to like, oh, nature, like God's in nature, or water is important to like Christianity. I don't know. It's still a little strange. But if you have a better theory, please let me know, because I'd love for it to make sense. So how they trap with the streets for the money, which does have like a little bit of a contrast for like being in the streets, right? Having nature and that. So maybe that's the idea. For the money, hit the field, better put on Yeezy cleats, which this kind of gets back to a little bit of a forced comparison here, right? But it just makes me think about Late Registration and the fact that in Late Registration, Kanye's kind of examining other ways to get out of the city streets rather than just selling drugs, right? Like Crack Music is a song that's getting at that. And Kanye's trying to empower people to think differently and pursue other ways out, which tends to be a theme, recurring theme on that album, despite also a recurring theme being how difficult that is. But here it's like, instead of being in the streets and trapping in the streets, like for the money, hit the field instead, right? Like this is your alternative, is you don't have to be doing that. You can be doing this, and better put on Yeezy cleats, which you may remember the ill-fated Yeezy cleats. DeAndre Hopkins wore them in one game and got fined $6,000. And that was it. NFL ruled that he couldn't wear them anymore. And he said that if Kanye wants to pay the fine, then he'll keep wearing them. And Kanye seems didn't want to keep paying the fine, or didn't want to pay the fine at all. Von Miller wore them for a little bit, but he was just wearing them as preview or pre-game warm-up cleats. You can still find them online, GOAT, StockX, and everything. I still think they look awesome. That turtle dove look to them, but with the cleats and that patterning, like pretty sick. I've thought about getting a pair, just wearing them out and about while running errands, make people think that I'm just coming from some kind of important practice or event, just go to Chipotle wearing Yeezy cleats, regular outfit, but Yeezy cleats. It's going to be the new wave, the next trend. So going back to Smack DVD, where are we? All right. Take me up. They say, yeah, you done enough. Boy, I ain't done enough until we run the number up. So, some people are saying, Kanye, you've done enough in your career. You've done enough as a musician. You've done enough in terms of just like giving and all of this. Like he gave $2 million to George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. He gave money at the start of COVID to some shelters and some places for feeding people, right? Other things in his career overall, just like, you've been at this for a long time, you're in your 40s, you've done enough, relax. And he's like, nah, I ain't done enough until we run the number up. I don't know what number he's necessarily referring to. If it's just like the number of people that are succeeding, or the number of like Black Americans that are succeeding within the system that Kanye has talked about for a long time is holding them back. That could be it, right? Man, you talking about me, I'm a thug, which is pretty funny because in this video, you can see down here that it's replying to Beanie Siegel. Like Kanye and Beanie started to have a little bit of a beef here back in 2007. And the video is Kanye being like, no, I don't want to have a beef with Beanie. Like Beanie's not a studio rapper. He's like a gangster. And he straight up says, like, I'm not a gangster, like, but don't insult, like, me as a man. Which is pretty funny because you can see Kanye, like, he isn't one for beefs in that sense. But here he's like, I'm a thug, but it's kind of like I'm a thug in just like the studio song sense, because in the reality of things, Kanye is not quite, it's like self-professed, not quite a thug. Man, you talking about the president, I call the number up. Yeah, he has a direct line to Donald Trump, which, you know, some people think is a good thing, some people don't think is a good thing. Man, you talking about Elon, I call the number up. Elon Musk, again, some people think that's a good thing, some people don't. Man, you talk about Kim K, you know you effing up. It makes me think about Wiz Khalifa and back in 2016, where Kanye and Wiz were in a little bit of a Twitter beef with Amber Rose kind of involved as well. And the next day, Wiz got off a plane. He was flying out to Los Angeles, and he said something about like KK, which is Khalifa Kush. And he'd tweet about it all the time, but because Kanye had just had a little bit of a spat with him, when Kanye saw the KK line, he thought it was Kim Kardashian. And Kanye just went off. You may remember it was the infamous, like, all these tweets about Wiz, and like Wiz wears cool pants, and I may not be like the skinniest, but I'll settle for being the greatest rapper of all time. Like those kinds of things. It was he said he owned Wiz's kids, something like, it was just a wild spat. And Wiz is just like, yo, it means Khalifa Kush. But Kanye was like, don't you ever say my wife's name, like going off. So yeah, if you talk about Kim K, like Kanye will like get aggressive. Could you talk to the mayor about Breonna Taylor, which, you know, mentioned earlier that he had paid money for Breonna Taylor's family's legal fees, and she's another victim of police like excessive force in America, which is a topic I've been pissed off about for a long time, which it's sad that it's still an issue, but amazing that it's getting more and more of a focus today than what it was just 10 years ago, right? Or during the Tamir Rice shooting. I was in Ohio at that time, and still leaves me like viciously frustrated. Just all the comments I was reading on my social media, like personal social media on like Facebook and stuff. Frustrating. But, you know, people talking about, could you talk to the mayor in Kentucky, Breonna Taylor's town, about Breonna Taylor and getting her justice, and especially getting the police. That was the big push, right? Fire the police who killed Breonna Taylor. And he said, I talked to the president for giving my life to the Lord. And just, yeah, he didn't go to the mayor. He went to the president. It didn't really do much, but he at least talked to somebody, right? Maybe going to the mayor would have been a little better in this case. Somebody a little bit more proactive, right? But Kanye just trying to be in service is what he's saying, which kind of pulls back up to up here. I ain't done enough until we run the number up. Like, he's still wanting to do more because he's giving his life to the Lord. Smack DVD, if we extinct, then what are we? Which, yeah, now he's starting to transition into this idea of the sanctity of life, but not only like life, but black life in America. Seems to be kind of a reference to, maybe that's a stretch to say that it's a reference to Black Lives Matter, but it's in that mind of thought. Like, if we're extinct, then what is this? Like, we have to do things that make sure that we thrive and that we stay alive, which is coming off of the Breonna Taylor situation and police brutality and murder, which is something Kanye has talked about a lot, from kids, cop shot the kid, to recently making other comments about it and having a few other references on songs. As you can tell, I'm scrambling because I couldn't think of another example in that moment, but it is something that Kanye has spoken on. Like, he went and marched at one point as well, just in terms of like gun violence, but got to cease with the murders. He was out for the Breonna Taylor and George Floyd protests as well, but got to cease with the murders, which is the next line, right? So he's talking about not just the murders from cops, but I'm sure like within just people murdering each other, that needs to stop. But he also transitions to talk of 1,000 black babies getting murdered every day, which is something that he has been speaking of a lot in 2020. which is kind of a newer talking point, most famously discussed in South Carolina at his presidential rally, right? And it's come up on Twitter a number of times, but it talks about 1,000 black babies getting murdered every day. They don't know where to go, how to build a plan A. Kanye has also talked about this plan A strategy, which was kind of a core point of his presidential campaign, which plays off of the idea of plan B, which is the like morning after pill that's supposed to stop pregnancies. So instead of having that be a thing, like limiting childbirth, stopping childbirth, going with plan A, which is Kanye's policy to kind of radically help and change America based on a not just sanctity of life in terms of like childbirth, but just we need to help everybody feel more comfortable and more capable of like supporting families and being alive and being in a good place. Like if you went to the Kanye presidential website, he had his list of like 10 policy points, and they were very humanistic in that way in terms of like education and jobs and homelessness, all of those things. When he went to the White House to talk to Trump, he was talking about mental health and the lack of mental health care in America. Just very things that have fallen by the wayside over the last couple decades or in the 21st century, which really seem like they need to be readdressed in this digital age. So, okay, yay, this is me. What they gonna say to me? Yeah, like this is Kanye. Who's going to tell Kanye no? Who's going to stop Kanye? I'm the only one out here really getting free, which is something that he's talked about on a lot of the 2020 songs, that he's more free than other people. He's helping other people get free. Like people can't control him. Got to build a family. How to build a family, which like, yeah, that's also the other thing that he's on, this transition from just like superficial goods to family and family life, and kind of comes back to, I guess, a contrast in general to St. John's part, because St. John's at a very different stage of his life and his career, and a lot of his verse is in that like, I got stuff now, right? Like I got money now, this is great. Where Kanye is kind of beyond that and just like, no, you got to have a family, this is the meaningful thing. And how to build a family is something that like people need to know. It's a do or damn way. And it's like, you do it or you're damned kind of thing, which gets back to kind of his Christian creed, right? And pulling up with that creed, like you do the things that you need to do for people or you're on the path to damnation, eternal damnation. Everything that I pray. And you get that like nice little resonance with starting with the creed and coming back to the idea of praying. So he does come full circle a little bit, or at least call back to the beginning in a way that has that sense of this was a beginning, middle, and an end that feels coherent and conclusive. And then St. John comes back with one last chorus, and that's the end of the song. But I really like the song. I like Kanye's verse. I hope to one day make sense of this line. Got to pull up on a creek, but it's pretty good. And then you can, I don't know if you can find this. It's out of stock, clearly. But if somebody has this and you want to tell us what's in it, that would be amazing to hear, because I'm very curious. And what we have here, you can see that this is a just a preview, right? It's not the full thing. No, yeah. This clip is from the new Smack DVD Volume 13. So just a minute 41. And then right there, pre-order Smack DVD Volume 13, smacktube.com, shipping September 4th, 2007. Man, sales at smacktube.com. Yeah. So that's it for Smack DVD. But if you haven't heard the song yet, I implore you to go listen to it because it's great. I really love what St. John's doing like vocally on the song, and just the whole escalation at times where he kind of goes breathless with it, or like ramping up. It's kind of my jam and style of song. This definitely has the energy that I feel like a lot of the music I've been hearing in 2020 is missing. So much appreciation for that. And then if you're enjoying the channel and you want to support us, this easiest way is to like, subscribe, or comment, as those things tell YouTube this is a channel people enjoy, and then they show it to more people. And then we also have our, I'm just trying to go to a less harsh screen. There we go. And we also have our podcast, Watching the Throne, a lyrical analysis of Kanye West, where we do narrative and thematic deep dives and explanations of all of his songs, much like what we just did here. It will forever change how you listen to Kanye music and what you think and feel about Kanye albums. Like whatever song you pick to listen to that we've covered, you'll come away with it going, I never knew that. I love the song now. Or at least I like this song more than I did. I'm pretty sure. That's a guarantee. No, yeah, it's a guarantee. So that's it for now. Until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.